Welcome. This is the Drupal usability meeting for August 29th, 2025. I'm Benji Fisher, sharing my screen and moderating. And also present are Ralph Kohler and Simo Helstein. Thank you both for coming. Um, so we're looking at this RTBC issue. For the sake of the recording, the number is 2843953. Remove collapsible details wrapper from Views UI advanced settings. And let me see. I have a fresh Drupal install ready to go. I just need a share link for it. Um,
And I'm currently applying the patch and can also share one.
Thank you. I'll put that link into the Zoom chat. As usual, you can log in as admin. And let's follow the steps to reproduce, install Drupal, edit a view such as admin content. So structure, views, content. Um, the advanced section is always collapsed or hidden on initial page load, regardless of whether advanced settings have been made. And if the user has just expanded and edited something in that section, for example, adding a contextual link or relationship, when the modal window is closed, the advanced div is always collapsed again. So not the best steps to reproduce, but I think what they're talking about. Oh, wait a minute. Advanced is open.
You go to the settings page on the local. Uh, no, one step before the views. Yeah, you've used settings.
That's the live preview. That's not what we're looking for. So this
Always,
is not checked.
and it is shown. That is odd.
Um, is that something that's stored in a cookie? I reload this page. Hmm, very strange. I wonder if some other issue has affected that. Um, I could check out an earlier version of Drupal and see whether that's a recent change. Shall I do that?
Or we could simply just look at the merge request version.
Okay. So just to
Um,
avoid confusion, let me close that and open your site. Missing bundle for entity type commerce product variation.
uh, what? 1 second, I'll share another page. Get, uh, But just looked on the other install. I'm currently switching to the merge request, and without the merge request on 11.x, I also see basically the advanced be shown. And that is quite odd. PDF share. Ugh.
Well, at the same link, I am currently reinstalling Drupal with 11.2.0, but you beat me to it, so okay, so this is with the merge
Yeah.
request applied. Structure, views,
If you first take a
admin.
look at the, oh, why are seeing now in German? Oh, 1 second, I have to switch.
Uh,
I should have stayed in bed today. English, 1 second, I'm already adjusting it. Save. You can reload now. Switch it to English.
Okay, so
Oh,
admin
geez.
content.
Could it go first to settings?
Sure.
Just to illustrate, because there the checkbox. No, no, in this add the settings local task for views.
I don't see the settings local task.
Next,
Oh,
scroll
here we
up.
go.
Yeah.
When did that happen?
This chin currently.
Okay. Always show the default, allow embedded. Um, is there something under advanced?
No,
Caching and debugging? No.
no, I wanted to illustrate as basically one checkbox got removed. There were three before,
Okay.
and now there are just two.
So let's look at that in the unpatched 10.2.0. Um, so on settings, so always show advanced
Yeah.
display settings has been removed. So default display and embedded displays are still there. Yes. Okay, so let's go to content and
You are in your current on your site.
yes, this is umami and it's still showing advanced even though I don't have that in the settings.
Hmm.
Okay, so back to your site and again we can look at the fav icon to keep track of which site we're on. You have the blue Drupal icon. I have the orange umami icon. Um, so if we edit content, then it's just gone. You can't collapse it.
Yep.
Whereas here, you still have to figure out why. Like, do I have a config override in my settings.php? That is possible. In fact, I'm going to go to
What
a window where you can't see and check that.
what happens when you remove the relationship? So if it's partially implemented, so that if there is some content, it shows.
I'm sorry if I remove
I
this
think
relation.
uh, if you remove the relationship author, so that there are no advanced settings in place.
Haha.
Mm.
Okay, we get some errors when we do that because that relation was in use, but it is collapsed now.
That is
Okay,
odd.
well, that was a good guess, and that must be a change that was made before 11.2.0. Um,
Are you currently talking, Benji? Because
nope.
okay, because you had the green outline. Therefore, I thought.
Okay, so it definitely seems that something has changed since this issue was last updated. How it was last updated July 30th, but whoever updated it, um, I didn't notice recent changes. So it's not really our job to track it down, but maybe we'll do it anyway, not during the meeting. Track down when that change was made. Um, and I guess we can still review it and decide whether we like the current behavior or the proposed behavior better. So going back to the issue, let's just read a little more about the motivation. I find myself wasting a lot of clicks when editing views, avoid active settings being missed because they're not immediately visible. Um, is there a real reason it needs to be collapsible at all? On desktop, it saves no space. You just get an empty column area, and the content is always loaded in background. Are the advanced settings really advanced? That is more complicated than those in the first two columns. I'd argue relationships, contextual filters, machine name, admin, comment, and CSS class perhaps aren't. For example, the first two would work well in column two, and machine name and admin comment could go in page block settings. I'm wondering if the page has grown over time and the advanced column has turned more into miscellaneous. And the proposed resolution, the advanced settings details wrapper or details element should be removed. And the corresponding configuration item should be removed. And the user interface changes. The third column of a view settings will always be visible. It would be nice to have some screenshots there. Um, okay, that seems relatively accurate. Um, and there seems to have been some other relatively recent issue, although before 11.2.0 was released, which I guess was June,
Yes.
um, that automatically opens it whenever there is something non-default. At least that's what it looks like. I'm going to cancel the changes rather than add it back. Cancel the changes and re-edit. and the author relation is there.
How does it behave if you add another views display? Does it if it's using is that a default one? Does it have because is that I wonder, so some of the views have default settings, and then they have the different displays that can override the default. But I'm wondering if there is different behavior with the default and those that either override or won't override the defaults.
So that's another of the views settings, is whether to show the default display. And maybe the page display is not overriding anything, and that's why default was hidden. If we add a block display, and then we change something, let's just say remove some field. Whoops. Was that just for this display? Went too fast. For just this display, if we remove that field, you now have the italics indicating that it's overridden. I save that. Advanced is still showing. Advanced is still showing. I suppose now that I have a display that does override it, we'll display I have one display that doesn't override anything and one display that does override something, and the default display is not showing. So I'm not sure what the always means. It seems to, this is out of scope, of course, for the current issue, but it seems to me that what this checkbox is doing is showing or not showing the default display.
Yeah.
But maybe there's some other situation where it would show regardless of that setting. Um, okay, so that's the behavior with current Drupal, that the advanced section is open. If anything is not default. And this is what it looks like. It's closed, and the issue is certainly correct. It doesn't save any space. It just hides a bunch of settings. Um, and here, we just don't have a collapsible details element. We just always see these settings. So which do you prefer?
Prefer the merge request.
Why?
When I first started with Drupal, for understanding how to unhide and that there is the option, took me a while. And then it was always an additional click until I realized that it's possible to always show it there. And why hide something if it's basically relevant?
So you discovered the view settings and decided that for your personal use, you would always show the advanced
Yeah,
settings, right?
yeah. But it was always an additional click.
And if you're only working on one site for your day job, say, then you choose that setting once and you always have it.
Yeah.
But if you're working on different sites from day to day, then you have to do it every time you switch from one site to another.
Yeah. And the context switching and remembering in which context you currently are, what was set, or like in your case, could it be possible that you have a config override somewhere, so forth? There are many, many options. And yeah, I'm not sure if hiding is a good thing. So I like the merge request better.
Simo, do you have an opinion?
It feels more consistent and more balanced, showing like not having that empty space.
So let's also have a look at what happens if you create a new view. Oh, Baba. Foo. Da, 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 da. I just want maybe I'll create a page. Okay, this is what it looks like. And maybe, let's see, how do I collapse the navigation bar? Maybe I'll do that on both of them. So this is what it looks like if you're editing a brand new view. The three columns are pretty closely balanced in terms of height. Um, yeah, I think I also agree. And in particular, the relationships, which are at the top of the column, and I have a feeling they didn't used to be at the top of the column. I think we've visited this page before in the time that I've been attending usability meetings, and we moved it to the top. The relationships are very important because when you're adding fields, um, you often need to have a relationship defined because you want a field from linked content or something. So I think that's particularly important to expose. Um, so I guess we're unanimous. We agree that the um, the issue is a good change. We should still, once we find the other issue, we should review the comments on that issue and see whether there are arguments in favor or not. Let's do something that's easy and just check whether someone has already linked the two issues as related. Doesn't look like it. So whoever was working on these two issues didn't know about the other issue. Um,
There's also one detail to note in general about the merge request. XJM picked that up in the last comment. She pointed to comment number 6 by Yoroi, and he wrote, I think the collapsed advanced column was a rather brute force way to reduce clutter in the views UI. I wouldn't mind showing it expanded again. Posted 8 years ago. And Davena, in the next comment, also commented and quoted Yoroi, and he wrote, do you want to still present the idea of it being advanced? And that picks the other problem that is removed with that merge request, meaning that the advanced summary is gone, or detail, or however it's called.
right. I'm surprised that Yoroi didn't use his favorite phrase, less is more, and land on the solution here where you do not label it as advanced. Especially since uh, D.A. Wehner, that's Daniel Wehner,
Yeah.
suggested, at least for me, the left-right hierarchy seems to communicate this information already.
Timo found it.
Might be related to that one.
Oh, is this the issue?
It is the issue probably because it's in 10.1.
Awesome. Prevent the details getting closed when making changes in the advanced section. And there are relatively few comments on this one. It was opened in May and closed in August. So again, not in the scope of the usability review, but if we are going to use the issue we've been looking at, we should check whether there's anything left over from this issue that needs to be removed. In fact, I wonder if it was updated since July 22nd.
This closed issue only has 3 lines of code, and one of them is just closing bracket for if. So basically there is one condition and one change to builder eye. So very simple change what has been done.
Oh, but but it might be that the change in the issue you've dug up, Simo, is not covered and contained in the merge request from the current issue. So it would be an rudiment then.
Right.
'Cause
So there's a good chance that we should remove these
yeah,
lines that were added. And I forgot to read for the sake of the recording. This already fixed issue is 3360442. So that issue added these 5 lines, 2 comments, 1 closing brace, and 2 other lines. Probably that should be removed as part of the new issue.
Yep.
So that, and it should have screenshots in
Oh,
the issue summary.
wait a second. It might be that there might have been a follow-up issue for that issue Simo found, because if you take a look at the merge request, the current one, in the view edit form in the change in line 592, that is also about build columns third open. It's not identical to the one in the 10.1, but it's at least related. So it might be covered. Further down at the view edit form.php, it's the third from the bottom. Yeah, in that line. And that looks similar to the one and the other.
Okay, so that's again that's outside the scope of the usability review, but it should be done. So this was further down, 619 to 623. Ah, oh, the line numbers have changed, so maybe. Anyway, um, so we should not get back to needs work. We should, um, you know, make sure that anything left over from this fixed issue is removed. We should add screenshots, um, but we do agree with the approach. Does that about cover it? And it looks like Lendude has been involved on both issues. But this was 2023, so not at all recent. Um, so any volunteers to write the comment?
I suppose I can do it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We're more than halfway through the meeting, but let's see. Um, I think I previously commented on this issue, and I should really take responsibility for replying to the new comments. So let's look at this third one, unless one of you really wants to look at the first.
Fine. The root path now?
What's that?
The root path issue now. Okay, yeah, you're
Yes.
already. Okay.
So it's issue 2704931. Provide Drupal root path on file system admin form. So the page file system, admin config media file system contains the info about the file system, but has missing information regarding the application root folders. Let's have a look at that page. I think it's configuration media file system, right? Admin config media file system. Yes,
I've applied the merge request or
thank
checked
you.
out.
Um, Contains info about the file system. So the public file system path, the public file base URL, and other things, but it doesn't show the document root. So this, it is under media in the menu, not that media, but configuration media file system. So this is really about paths to uploaded files, either public or private, or temporary, I guess, the optimized assets file system path. No, I guess that's not temporary. Here's temporary. Um, but it doesn't show the application root folder. The steps to reproduce, install Drupal on shared hosting. Proposed resolution is to introduce a description of the application root and add the info for relative paths with resolved absolute paths. So I think that means show both the path relative to the application root and also the absolute path. Add an item to file system page describing the changes. So here's a screenshot of 4. And the 3 changes are to add an item for application root directory. So that's at the very top in this screenshot, which will be var /html/web. Update the public file system path to use an absolute path, and update private file system path the same way. So the public file system and is a relative link. The private file system on my installation is an absolute path.
You are on your installation right now.
Yes. And even though it's a subdirectory of var/www/html, it shows as an absolute path. So I don't. So let's open this screenshot, and it shows a private file system path of /private. So I guess that is something that there is no config form for, as it says here. This must be changed in settings.php. So I guess my settings.php must have an absolute path. And the installation that generated this screenshot used /private, which isn't supposed to work, but it does. The comments in settings.php say you must use an absolute path, but the comment is wrong. And thereafter screenshot, let me open that up now. This is similar to what I would have. And public and private are both resolved. So it does not show either one has entered. It just shows what it resolves to. And I guess both of them have to be changed in settings.php. I guess so.
At least the description says so.
Right. I guess it used to be that we could set at least one of them on this form, maybe both. Okay, and then in your site, configuration, media, file system. You've applied the patch, and you see something a lot like the screenshot. It's default files. I guess the base URL is sort of includes a full path from the web root. There we go. So this again is Ralph's with the pull request applied. You haven't set private files. Okay. So first, any further questions or clarification needed about what it's changing?
One note that I checked that the status report doesn't list paths. So that's something that it's not listed at least there. So there, I didn't notice another place where you could find that information from the user interface. It shows trusted hosts, but not really paths.
Should it?
No, I was just checking if this is something that is handled in another place, so it's not duplicate
Okay, okay.
functionality.
Right.
I just wondered if it should be added there, but I don't. Personally, I don't think so.
It checks that the directory is writable. It checks that things are working. It doesn't show you the configuration.
Okay. Huh.
So I guess the question is, what is more useful to see what you have configured in settings.php or what it resolves to? Why not show both? Um,
Oh, you mean both?
uh, Both what you have entered in settings.php
Okay.
and what that path resolves to as an absolute.
So basically, the information that there is an override active.
Um, I wouldn't call it an override. It's a setting. I guess it's a
Okay.
setting that can only be done in settings.php. Um,
Should we quickly try to change something and see how it is reflected on that page?
okay, let me edit. You can't see what I'm doing, but
Could you paste it in the chat afterwards as well? Then I make the change to my install as well. Then we can compare if there are any differences.
okay. So let me first paste it in, and maybe for the sake of the recording, I can find a text area where I can paste it in. Let's see how that that is what I currently have in settings.php, and I've also put it in the Zoom chat. Um, oh, right. I was testing something several years ago that yes, you can put the private files inside the public files, and yes, that's an already released security issue, so it's okay to talk about it. But if I change it to a relative path, So that's what I will do now. This is mine. So I will do a force reload, so this will go away. And my private file system path is now the equivalent directory, but shown as I entered it in settings.php. Is that the experiment you wanted me to do?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. But by the way, this is exactly what's done on Pantheon. I don't think you, well, the last time I checked, you didn't have the option of overriding it. And it looks terribly insecure, but they have actually mounted a separate disk on this path. Um, and that disk has read-write restrictions on it. So, so it's actually fairly secure,
Uh,
even though it looks like a bad idea.
Banshee, I've pasted the following into my default settings PHP.
Sites default files private. Yes.
And if you now reload my page, somehow it seems not to be reflected.
So you had it not set, and you still have it not set.
Yeah.
Are you sure you're using the right settings.php?
Uh, oh.
The
Da, 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 da.
voice of
Uh,
experience. I have
uh,
made that mistake many times.
okay. Yeah, no, could reload.
Okay, get a warning message. That's nice. And
Yeah, it's updated as well.
but it shows it as a relative path.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is not what I expected.
But if you take a look at the description of the application root directory, it says the top level directory of the Drupal installation. Relative paths shown below are relative to this location. So that might be the explanation.
Yeah, but why the inconsistency? You haven't entered a full path to the public files, have you?
No, I suppose not. I've made no changes there.
I think it's actually important to know which ones are entered as relative paths and which are absolute. So I think that's important to know. So if something is entered as a relative, it shouldn't display it as a absolute path here.
So you think the current behavior where the paths are shown as entered in settings.php are shown.
Yeah,
You think that's preferred behavior?
Yeah, I think so, because then advanced user knows that those are not something that need to be changed in order to to change the installation folder, or maybe move it to different account.
Okay, go ahead, Ralph. We have a little more than 5 minutes.
Um, I wonder, would it make sense to provide both informations, meaning out of the box, make the first inline always the absolute path, and then in case like the one we have right here with private file system path, make the addition afterwards, it's overwritten, and that basically in the settings PHP and the setting used is sites default files private.
Right, I think that's a reasonable suggestion. It violates the less is more principle, but let me just use my browser tools to see how that would look. Um,
We don't have that kind of pattern in the design, I think, but one option could be to use to put the first part like the global or the root path into a span, and then display it with different styling.
so just for the sake of something quick to give the idea, um, let me just make this bold.
I suppose I would do it so that it would only show the absolute path, but it would distinguish between the root and the relative paths.
Oh, I see, I think.
So then it would save space and wouldn't be repetitive.
Um, so you're suggesting something like this. So strong.
So simply append not in the not strong version var www HTML, and
Right.
then the strong sites and so forth. Um,
Something like that.
Yeah, and then we
And
would
we,
need to dig up a screen reader friendly version to do that.
but
right.
would it be reasonable to do it the other way around? Making basically the thing that is basically set in the settings bolded.
Bold.
Yeah, I think not bold. Maybe try to use something like pre
Yeah.
for the first part, or something that makes it look like
Yep.
machine did this. But that's up to the theming or styling. So it could be some maybe.
Right. And if we put both pieces in a span, then the the classes or some sort of description could be very explicit about this is this part is the application route. This is the part relative to the application route. And I guess uh, there are further questions like what to do if what is in settings.php is already a full path. Should we check for the application route and bold that, or should we do nothing? Um, so additional thought is needed here, and we're at the end of the hour. But
Yeah,
go ahead.
and yeah, there was also another thing. I just realized that isn't that site like public file system path that's relative to web root, and if we want to have relative private file system, then would that be relative to app root? So distinguishing between web root and app root.
Web root and app root. Yeah, I'm not sure, and also you have to think about what to do with something like /private. Are you going to include the / in your unified thing? And Ralph, you've had your hand up for a while. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add maybe simply to establish a pattern with that strong or pre or however it's labeled, simply wrap that part in case there is an override, or not override, but a setting in the settings PHP, then label it or illustrate it with that tag, basically, so that it's clearly visible that there is basically something set in the settings PHP and what is set that way. Oops.
Okay, so you're suggesting using some sort of attributes on the spans or whatever we're
Yeah.
using. Yes.
And simply have a help text on top of the file systems where you state basically, look, that's the following, that's the pattern that is followed on that page.
Okay. So I think it's too early to make a recommendation at this point, but I think we do want to suggest further changes. So maybe I'll write a brief comment saying that we discussed it. You can look at the recording, and we'll return to it at a future meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you both.
Thank you.
And do this again next week, I think.
Have a relaxed weekend.
Yep.
Bye bye.
Yep. Bye.